From cybersecurity concerns over TikTok to an alleged Chinese spy balloon to warnings of real costs if Beijing provides weapons to Russia. China's relationship with the U.S. is set to be in key focus yet again as the country holds its most important political meetings of the year from this weekend. Known as the Two Sessions, it'll be the first time that China's new foreign minister will face questions from the media. Olivia Siong reports.
The ongoing row over an alleged Chinese spy balloon shot down by the U.S. over its airspace has dominated headlines in recent weeks. China saying that the balloon strayed off course due to force majeure and that it was meant for civilian purposes, calling Washington's response an overreaction. The war of words has escalated already fraught ties between the world's two superpowers, the country's top diplomats holding a tense meeting on the sidelines of a security conference in Munich.
The balloon is not a secret device. A balloon is meant for everyone to see if you care to lift up your head and look into the sky. And everyone in the United States could have seen this balloon if they care to look at it. And the fact that the United States military shot it down with lethal missiles further reinforced the message that both China and the United States are within reach of the other side.
China's troubled relations with the U.S. is likely to be in focus as the country's top legislature convenes in Beijing. Newly appointed Foreign Minister Siong, who was previously China's ambassador to the U.S., set to field questions from the media for the first time on the sidelines of the meetings and what's typically a closely watched news conference each year.
But even with the new foreign minister, the Helm analysts tell me it's quite unlikely there'll be any shift in China's foreign policy approach moving forward. After all, Mr. Qin's predecessor, Wang Yi, has been promoted to the Communist Party's decision-making Politburo and named the party's top foreign policy chief. Also, how China deals with the rest of the world is still ultimately decided by the country's top leader, Chinese President Xi Jinping, who remains firmly in charge.
This comes as China had also faced pressure to do more to rein in Moscow as the war in Ukraine crossed the one-year mark. Beijing released a position paper calling for a ceasefire and an end to Western sanctions on Moscow. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken raising concerns that China was considering providing lethal support to Russia, a statement that has been called slander by Beijing.
The United States is very worried about this happening, but has not reached the judgment that it is happening yet. And this campaign of public statements that Blinken is making to try and warn China away from this is Washington trying to avert these worst-case scenarios. Because if China does enter the war on Russia's side, then that becomes extremely difficult, and U.S.-China relations will likely enter something like a strategic freefall.
There had been hopes of a detente in China-U.S. ties after a first in-person meeting between the country's two top leaders last year in Bali. But now that has given way to concerns that the balloon saga could also spill over into other areas where China faces sovereignty issues. This includes the South China Sea and near the self-ruled island of Taiwan, all areas where the U.S. military operates and China views as provocation. Olivia Siong, CNA, Beijing.